Hello friends, welcome to the reading. Before we get started, I just want to preface, please bear with the background noise that you're going to be hearing during the reading. My landlord has hired some roofers and I was expecting them to come later on in the week, but they're here today. I already have a message laid out that I want to deliver because I feel that it's incredibly valuable, so we're just going to roll with it. Who knows, maybe, the sounds that we're going to be hearing in the background as they're stomping around on the roof might act as confirmations for, points of the reading or not. Either way, let's go ahead and proceed. So for the person or people that I am doing this reading for today, let me say that I am absolutely touched and honored to be doing this for you because the story that we have laid out here today actually mirrors very much my own personal experiences in life. Okay. You are somebody who has come from the lowest of the low point in your life, and you've been moving on this healing journey that has brought you to a new sense of joy, a new sense of magic, freedom within yourself, and you have taken the pain that you've experienced and you've transmuted it to something that you feel gives you purpose and value that you want to offer to the world. The coming out of the situation that you were in up to where you are now takes an incredible amount of character, incredible amount of work. It is no easy task, and you absolutely have my respect. You are just so honored here. Okay, so guiding our reading today, we have Lice of the Shadows. I may or may not have mispronounced that, Liz, but Lice of the Shadows, she is what you would think of in fairy terms as like the ultimate social worker. She likes to get right in the trenches with those who are, lost, maybe homeless, addicted, who have slipped through the cracks in our social structure, the safety nets that we're supposed to catch people to help us, survive and thrive. Those who have slipped through, who have fallen to the wayside, who feel forgotten, who, are so deeply enmeshed in their own suffering. She is the one who, is all about helping others, whether that being that little whisper of encouragement all the way up to, the celebrating who you are becoming or who you have become compared to where you were in your life at one time. Okay. Starting out, we have the Ten of Wands. In this deck, the wands represent this story of these two fae who are starting out on an adventure, and they don't know where they're going. They just feel very inspired, to go out on this adventure, find something magical, find some sort of experience that they can bring back, to, tell stories about, to, connect with, to give them this kind of magical energy. And this other fae, she comes along and she has found this egg, and she gives them this egg. She doesn't know what's in it. They're thinking, this could be a phoenix, this could be a dragon, who knows what's in this egg? Well, it does turn out to be a dragon. So as the dragon grows, eventually it gets to this point where, it's out of control. It ruins the friendship between these two fae, and so this one who has decided that he wants to keep the dragon, it's grown to this point that it's so beyond his control, so beyond his ability to keep others safe, that he feels like, now I have to tie up this thing. I have to bind up this thing. You may have been somebody who had a very vital energy, that as a child did not get to be expressed in some sort of a healthy way. Maybe you didn't find the connections that you needed. Maybe you didn't find the empathy and support that you needed. And you had this energy and it had to find some kind of an outlet. And you probably found something that was very unhealthy. Some sort of behavior that was, destructive or toxic. Whatever the case being, it got to a point where it was so bad that you realized, I have to do something about this. And your first impression was to suppress it. Your first idea was to suppress it. You maybe have turned to some sort of substances, whether, they've been alcohol, drugs, sex addiction, whatever the case being, you were so stuck in this thing that it brought you into this very toxic, destructive kind of behavior. And the thing of the matter is, even if like you ended up protecting others from this energy, or whether you did not succeed in protecting others from this energy, by binding and suppressing, you actually ended up causing even more destruction in your personal life. You probably could have been somebody who has been homeless at some point in your life. Like I said, you could have been addicted. You just at this absolute low, right? So that actually comes up to the devil. And, when we look at the devil card in this Mystic Fairies Tarot, there are definitely a lot of correlations you have to the devil you would see in the Rider-Waite-Smith, other than you don't see other individuals here, you just see this satyr. In fact, I actually want to read you the section in the guidebook for this particular card, because I feel it is very relevant to the reading and communicates like the energy here more effectively. So, alright, let's go ahead. Reveling in his horns, cloven feet, tail, and fiery wings, the devil fae frolics in a part of the garden that is dangerous for humans. He resembles even more closely than the death fae his dragon ancestry, for he does represent the most basic of drives and desires. His earrings and bearded beads show that he's adorned and altered these fundamental energies. He recognizes them, celebrates them, and controls them. As a fae, he is connected to the earth and therefore in balance with it, but just barely. It is his nature that he dances on the edge, balancing and playing with boundaries. Humans are so far removed from our fundamental ancestry that we often don't know how to express that part of ourselves, either in society or in our lives. Consequently, we often deny these desires. Because of this repression, our instinct and sensual drives often show up in ways that are not necessarily good for us, others, or the universe. Another way that this disconnect from our basic nature plays out is when a certain desire will not only demand satisfaction, but begin to control a person. This leads to addictions, obsessions, and other unhealthy patterns. So, this being, what I have been talking about, you have this fundamental energy that was in you that did not get to be expressed in healthy ways, so that way it ended up turning into something more destructive, right? But the thing is, you did eventually get to this point where you realized that, like, the substance, the behavior, whatever the case being, was not really helping you. It wasn't really making anything better, that it was just a way of diverting your attention away from it, or a way of suppressing the experiences you were having so that way you could run from the pain, right? But you did, make a decision also that, like, I've got to find a way to get out of this. I've got to find a way to build something healthy. So we actually have this Two of Pentacles, right? In the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, you would see this individual balancing, on a tightrope, having these two pentacles, juggling. What I'm getting the impression here is kind of like baby steps, right? This pentacles in this story, you have these this fairy, that she left her community. She's wandered off into the woods, and she couldn't find her way back. So she found this beautiful spot out in nature, and she's like, I can take care of myself here. I can grow food. I can tend for myself. And this is in the beginning, right, where she's starting to gather up things, and she's only got this little basket, right? So you have started to gather up little bits of wisdom early on in your journey, little things here and there. And, while you felt left out, separated from your community, right, you're like, I can take care of myself. I can handle this. The thing is, eventually, it did grow into being more like this Ten of Pentacles. You've got all these new baskets, this abundance. You have this nest with these mice. This fairy here, she ends up meeting these mice and, forming a bond with them, a connection with them. she had lost her stores at an earlier point in the story, so they share with her, and she teaches them how to to make the baskets, and they have ideas about how they can use that basket weaving in their nest. And the point of the matter is, you grow something beautiful, right? You took this little idea, this little seed of one little healthy thing you had, even amongst all the chaos, even amongst all the pain, and you tended it, you nurtured it. Maybe you didn't feel hopeful that it would grow, or maybe you did, but you knew that you had to stick with it, grow something beautiful and something healthy. And you did, but it came through a lot of self-work, right? The hermit. And this self-work really was about like understanding yourself, really about coming to connect with this inner energy, this fire, this passion that you had that got, misdirected at whatever point in your life while you're looking around, with your lamp, trying to find the secret to your healing. And the reality was, the very thing that got distorted, the very thing that ended up causing you to behave in ways that were harmful, actually turned out itself to be the answer, right? Kind of like how, you get bit by a snake. The anti-venom is just more venom from the same kind of snake, but it's been super concentrated in order to trigger a different kind of reaction in your body, so that way it gets it out, right? You discovered that the very thing that you were running from to look for a solution itself held the solution. And that solution actually comes in the form of this King of Wands. Now, if you can imagine, say, like the Knight of Wands, that would be your very impulsive, like, I have an idea, I'm ready to go, I've got all this passion, all this energy, and you're off, right? The thing is, the King of Wands, though, is this more matured version. He still has the passion, he still has this fire, this drive, but he's made a decision. Looking at him, he's in this very kind of contemplative mood. He's made a decision. You have made a decision to take that energy and focus it towards something of value. Focus it towards something healthy and beautiful, right? That the drive, the thing that, that impulse that you had, that inner fire, you're like, well, if I can take that and create all this chaos and destruction in my life, well, I can also take that same energy and focus it towards something beautiful. And you did. Next up, we have the Four of Swords. This is the energy of rest. You needed time to step away. You needed time to heal, right? That's that hermit energy. Not just because of looking in, but because you needed to recover, right? You had this blue rose that these fae had discovered. They have this rose garden, these two girls. They have this rose garden, and they found this blue rose, right? This very special, magical rose, and they tended to that. And when they were tending to that rose, eventually it started to wilt because it was outside of their expertise, to care for. So they seek help from the fairy queen. If anybody is going to know how to revive this rose, it would be her. So they go and ask her for help, and she agrees. She comes and she revives the rose. She pours her magic into it. You have decided to focus on a thing to pour your energy into, right? And the thing is, though, when she's pouring her magic energy into this rose, the garden around her starts to get really overgrown, starts to, sneak up and kind of wrap around her, and she doesn't notice until it's too late. So the thing is, you did find something beautiful to cultivate, to grow, but when you were feeding that energy, other things around you were also gaining from that energy. You were growing the rose for sure, but you were growing these thorny vines, other roses, other possibilities, and it got thick and overwhelming. Okay. You have next up the Nine of Wands. This is that preparedness. You say, you have like in the Rider-Waite-Smith, you see this individual, he's standing there, he's got the wands, he's ready for whatever situations might come up. So you get to this point where you had an idea, like, okay, I think I figured out how I can solve this problem. I think I can, direct my energy towards something good, right? You have the Knave of Swords, the Page of Swords in this deck. She's very smart, very intelligent. She's got an idea and understands theoretically very well how something would work, right? You're like, oh, hey, I got this idea of what I can do with my energy. I know where I want to go. Clearly, this is going to be easy, right? Well, it turns out that it takes practice. It takes repetition. We're looking at this Eight of Pentacles, that story I was telling about, the fairy, she met the mice and she's making the basket and they're curious about what she's doing. You have this, you needed to continue to practice, right? You've got the idea, but it wasn't a one and done type of situation. You had to continue to exercise a muscle, so to speak, when it comes to how to direct your energy. Because imagine if you've been stuck in something for so long, you've got this trench that you've kind of dug, this well-worn path, and if you're gonna forge a new path, continuously going down that path, eventually you wear this new groove, and you've come to realize that the idea that you had, the theory, it's true, but the actual work put into it was more than you expected, more than you anticipated, but well worth it. Because what happened is you kind of moved into this energy of temperance, this alchemical card. The process, the work you've done is to alchemize this energy, the desires, the addictions, the impulse, the power, whatever it is. You've alchemized this thing, and as you've, each repetition, each bit of practice was pouring one cup into the other, and gradually you shifted your energy, your behaviors, your patterns out of this low, destructive point in your life to where you felt no worth in yourself, to where you felt whatever this suffering, you gradually, started to create something new and beautiful for yourself. Your idea has come to fruition, right? You got this focus, this Ace of Swords, right? You got these rosebuds. The one where your attention was focused, this is what bloomed. You continued to direct your energy and focus towards specifically what you wanted to create for yourself. And the thing is, what I'm getting here with this Six of Wands, when the egg finally hatches and you got this little baby dragon, is you have cooled this energy enough to where you have a fresh start, right? You don't know yet where things are going to grow into, but now you have this something that is easier for you to direct, easier for you to handle, easier for you to nurture, that's very beautiful for you. And because you've done this work, now we come to this Hanged Fae. You are at a point in your life where you look at things differently, right? Responsibility to you isn't about this rigid control anymore. It's more of a natural flowing. It's more of an organic kind of direction, right? You just kind of make small adjustments, if like a river moving, through its bed, if it comes across an obstacle, it doesn't need to force its way through it. Now, some very powerful rivers might, but you don't need to force your way through it. You kind of have learned to flow. You have this new way of looking at life because you have transmuted this energy. And the thing is, because you come into this new energy, this new way of looking at life, this new way of looking at yourself and your expression, we come to the Judgment card. You realize now that this is more than just like, oh, I've done some healing work. This is a higher calling. This is, you want to take what you've learned, the wisdom that you've gained, and share it with others, right? I want to take the wisdom I've gained through my life and share it with others. And, you know, you have this new kind of little contentment, right? This 3 of Pentacles. In the Rider-Waite-Smith, you would see an artisan, you know, working, you know, in a temple, working in a church, building it. He's got the clergyman and his sponsor. In this case, we're kind of going to that similar energy. This Fae here, the same one here, you know, when she's starting to grow her little garden, she's got help. She's got this butterfly. She's got her little, you know, crops that she's starting to harvest. You have something that could sustain you now. It's a simple, delicate little pleasure. You know, it's not this like overblown thing, but you have this measure of contentment because you've come to a peaceful, healthy kind of relationship with yourself. And what you've cultivated, what you've transmuted, brings you back into this energy of the inner child. When I'm looking at the Knave of Pentacles, the Page of Pentacles in this deck, while all the pages, or knaves, certainly speak of inner child energy, to me, this card in particular speaks, resonates with that inner child energy even more strongly. This Page of, you know, Pentacles, she's very simple, just enjoys the sweetness of life. You're not seeking outside indulgences. You're not seeking that dopamine. You're not seeking that high anymore. You are at a point where you can just be. You can feel comfortable, content, safe, and just enjoy that sweetness in life. And the interesting thing about that, we come up to the Empress. This is Mother Earth. This is divinity in the form of this beautiful blue and green marble of life that we live on. And, you know, she's surrounded by all this colorful energy, and yet her attention's on the wheat, the simple, you know, not vibrant color, but just, you know, nice little gold kind of tan of the wheat. And, you know, she's pregnant. She understands, like, this harvested wheat, the thing that you experienced in your life, the whatever the pains, these were the seeds for new life, because you could take these, you know, the seeds here, plant them, and you get new wheat, you get new grain. So Mother Earth has recognized you as somebody who's done the healing. Or, you know, whatever your higher power has recognized you as somebody who's done the healing. And that's why we've come to the Judgment card, because your journey doesn't only benefit you, it benefits others. And because you got this newness, this freshness, right? She is all about the new life, the fresh life. That's why she's pregnant, and she's right there to support you. Your guides, your higher power, whoever that be, is here to help you. They want to nurture you. They want to help you succeed. Right? The Two of Swords, the two fairy girls here with this beautiful magical blue rose that they have. You know, when they go to the Queen, and the Queen gives them help, right? You have help now. You have help from the other side, from your guides, from spirit. And the thing is, this childlike energy that you've come back into, the Fool, you have started a new journey. This isn't just another chapter in your book. This is a whole new book. You've closed the old story. You've written that final chapter of that point in your life, and you are ready to start on a new adventure. You know, pay attention. because you're now in the energy of the moon, in this fairy energy. You know, fairies are very much connected to, you know, the moon energy. You know, you have this light now that you can see in the dark, so to speak. You have this ability to navigate comfortably and safely through, you know, what others would consider as difficult. As long as you keep your wits about you, you know, you're going to do absolutely beautiful. You're going to do fantastic. Okay. So thank you so much for being here with this reading for me. Like I said, I absolutely am honored to do this reading for you, because your journey mirrors my own, and I know the strength and character it takes in order to get from where you were to where you are now. And you've got exciting and beautiful things ahead of you. If anything of this reading resonated with you, I would absolutely love it if you would, you know, share some wisdom from your own life and your own experiences in the comments, like the video. If you've not subscribed to my channel already, please go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and look at my videos, find something that resonates with you, and I will see you in the next one.